Welcome to my podcast, which is all about changing your business and money reality. This is your master money coach, Dr. Gaurav Deka, and you are money. Hello, my friends. How have you been? It feels like a long time that I have spoken to you because the last 2 weeks I was traveling and then I had recorded some episodes of the podcast I think in the last week. And then I didn't record and then I went traveling and that took away a lot of my time. So I was not able to record the episodes. So now I'm back and I'm speaking to you all, and you should see how I have set up my room today. I mean, of course, right now I'm not visible, but then I know uh, it's evening time around 9, and my lights are dim at this moment, and I have a lovely cup of tea. I've put some nice elaichi in it, and I'm drinking and speaking to all of you. There's lovely breeze going outside. So I was wondering what do I talk to you about? There were like lots of things in the last 1 week, the traveling, new insights about coaching coming up, new ideas about business that I wanted to share with you, which I will actually in the upcoming episodes. And then, of course, a lot of work that I have been doing for ATEPs. Finally, I'm done with putting up all the videos of ATEPs into the learning portal. And we will start accessing all of these videos from 1st of October onwards. That's when we will be, that's when we will start ATEPs officially. We begin the bandwagon of ATEPs from 1st of October onwards. And that's why these days, these weeks of August and the entire month of September is going to be extremely packed. But I'm trying to also take little pauses within these weeks and giving myself enough amount of rest, listening to my body, and creating space inside my nervous system, which is what I always do. Because without that space, I will not be able to function. I will not be able to create the result and move towards that result. And that's why on Sundays, I take this long break. I switch off my phone, I keep it away. It's my rest day. And I'm either reading on a Sunday or I am writing. And this Sunday, I and my partner, we decided to go and attend a concert. And this concert was being held at the India Habitat Center. And it was by a group of musicians, and the group is called Dastaan Live. And actually, it was the most spectacular event that I went to in the last many months. Even before the concert began, everyone was cheering, everyone was already dancing to the music. Each person sitting there was so excited. And when the music began, it was an extremely enthralling experience for us, for me, actually. With the very first song that this group of 11 people, 4 lead singers, and then there were musician, one woman on the clarinet, then there was someone playing the drum, then the piano, then 2 guitarists. So it was a group of 11 people. And the theme of this particular concert was, what they did was they did a very innovative thing. So there was a saint called Saint Kabir. And he spoke a lot about togetherness, about divinity, about experiencing the mystical by moving into one spirited way and bringing everything together, bringing everyone together. And he spoke about love and God through couplets. And those couplets were called as Doha. So they say Kabir's Doha. So Kabir's couplet, basically. And everything that he speaks about is about experiencing the divinity through love. He says that there is no one way of reaching God. There is no one way of attaining the divine. There could be multiple ways, and there can be ways that sometimes we don't know that they exist. So it's about moving from form to formlessness, right? Moving from solidity to dissolution. And that's exactly what I was experiencing in the first song itself. When they started playing, you know, the music started entering my body and like moving my muscles, settling into my bones. And it started sort of turning everything inside me into water. And I was experiencing this formlessness, this very cloudy, airy, watery feeling inside me. And I was beginning to lose control of my own body because it was so intense. The music was moving and exploding through the walls of the auditorium. Everyone was dancing on their seat, and some people stood up and started like moving around. And it was like a collective trance, I would say. It was like my body was pulled into this trance, and I just did not have control over it. And slowly what happened is a lot of emotions started coming up. There were some couplets that I understood and some couplets that I didn't understand. And even though that happened, I could still feel, my jaws sort of tightening. And the place near my neck, it started paining a little bit. And, tears started welling up. And I was like, what is happening? I can't cry. There are so many people watching. I can't just cry like that. I can't just weep. But then that was happening. And I think my body knew that I'm going to have some insight, I'm going to have some realization. And my body was preparing me to receive that information, I think. And let me tell you what that information was. Before the second song began, these singers, they have a very unique way of singing. So they turn songs into conversations as well. So one singer started speaking to the other and said that, it's not a performance, it's a satsang. Basically, it's a community where everyone has come together to speak of God and speak of, to experience the mystical, right? And we are all on this spiritual path. And then he talks about one of Kabir's really famous couplets, which reads as na main dharmi na adharmi, na main jati na kami hu, na main kehta na main sunta, na main sevak swami hu. And then turn that into a song, which basically, I'm not going to translate it because I truly feel it's beyond translation. But it simply means that there is no one fixed way, one definite solid way to attain God, to believe in divinity, to walk the path of righteousness and sacredness, that you do not have to follow one single teacher or guru, or perhaps coach. And you don't have to subscribe to any form of groupism. You don't have to believe in one tribe, one region, one community. You don't have to subscribe to one religion. Or even if you don't believe in religion, even if you don't believe in God. And you can you can be beyond all of that. You can transcend all of that and still experience the divinity that is inside you. And then they started singing this song through the couplets. And as that happened, I think it had the most profound impact on my body. I mean, intellectually, I always keep on speaking about the fact that we all need to give up the how in order to reach our highest potential, in order to reach the ultimate goal or result that we have decided for ourselves, in order to be the best version of ourselves. What is divinity otherwise? Divinity is that part of us which we place in the future that we want to reach. Our most potent being, our higher self, our divine self, who knows everything, the all-knowing. And inside ATEPS, I tell all my students that, listen, there is no one way of getting there. There is no one way of doing business. There is no one way of selling. There is no one way of marketing. There is no one way of developing your product. There is no one way of coaching. There is no one way of becoming successful. There is no one way of reaching your ambition. And hence, there is no one way of experiencing the divinity, experiencing the mystical. There is no one way of achieving and attaining God. There can be ways that are beyond the ways that you think exist. So you must be willing to give up the how. And while I knew that intellectually, I think at a somatic level, I didn't have the kind of experience I had while I was sitting there, the music penetrating through my body and every cell of my body vibrating, everyone dancing and entering into the state of trance and the music exploding through the roof and the walls. That's where, sitting right there, I had the most illuminating experience of why it was so important for me and for everyone to give up the how. I went beyond my intellectual understanding of giving up the how to a more somatic, more bodily experience. And then I allowed my body to go through that feeling, actually. I mean, there were tears streaming and my eyes were flooding out. And I secretly reached for my handkerchief and started wiping my eyes. So I was also feeling a bit tight and embarrassed, but then I settled into that feeling. I knew that something was changing inside my body. And even though I knew that at an intellectual level, I needed to experience this at my body level, that there is no one way for anything in this world. And then, the event got over, the concert was over, and then we started walking out. And I think it was in that moment when we were like walking out, my brain started going back to finding out, why I was having this deep experience. And then I realized that attaining God, or the whole idea of reaching our greatest potential, the idea of reaching God, is so similar to love. It's almost like love, right? That there is no one way to love, or there is no one way to experience love, so as to say. And for me, that experience was very, very different and difficult. Because you see, all of us are looking for ways that are somehow pre-approved, that are somehow validated. Maybe other people have walked those paths, walked those ways, and therefore we feel safe to walk the same, right? And for me, it was very different, because right from the very beginning, as a part of growing up as a gay man, I was always made to feel that my way of experiencing love, my way of romanticizing a man in my life, was not an approved way. It was different. And perhaps it was wrong. that there are right ways to reach love, and then there are wrong ways to love, that there are right ways to achieve divinity, and then there are wrong ways which do not take you to divinity, it takes you to hell, that there are right ways to be successful, and then there are wrong ways. And that begins with love. For me, it began with how I could experience love, that it was somehow not approved by the society around me. It was not approved by my community. It was not approved by my religion, perhaps by my country at that point of time when I was growing up. And hence it was the wrong way because it is not the approved way. And so many of us feel that with the way we show up in the world. We question, is my way of showing up in the world the right way? What happens if someone shames me for that? What if someone holds me responsible and tells me that this is not the right way? Right? When people come and tell us that, I don't think this business model is going to work for you. I don't think with this attitude you will be able to get clients. You have to be willing to work for 10 hours or 8 hours. You cannot get work done in 3 hours. That's not how you make money. Business is for people who are willing to, suffer and go through the hardship, right? And toil and go through the pain. Otherwise, it's not worth it. And you are not the kind of person who would do that because you don't believe in that, right? Business is more of a man's world, and there are not enough women there, or there are not enough queer men there, or queer women there, right? Or things like you have to send 12 emails in a week. Only then you are going to push your audience to buying your stuff, right? You have to be consistent with posting on social media. Otherwise, if you are inconsistent, if you post one day and if you don't post the next 3-4 days, people are going to lose trust in you. All these different, I would say, gyan, advice, right ways of making money that people will tell you, right? And we believe in them because other people have walked those ways and have found success and have found their greatest self. Maybe they have found their most potent self. They have become successful, and we think that that is the only way, that is the approved way, that is the right way. And let me tell you that this is exactly like love. How you choose to love, how you choose to experience God is your call. A lot of people may not even know that the way that you experience love, that the way you experience God exists. And the more we obsess about this one single way of reaching our higher self, reaching our most potential self, reaching God in a way, the more we obsess over that, the more we actually move far away. Because then we have questioned our belief. We are placing so much of importance on that one fixed way, one definite solid way. We have moved away from our fluidity. We have moved away from our ability to create, because creativity is not solid, it is fluid. We have moved away from our divine formlessness. And that is why I tell people, be willing to give up the how. Because no one way is greater than the other. No one way is more intense and more valuable than the other. No one way is superior or more moral than the other. No one way is more lovable than the other. And it is not true that if you follow one way, you can't have another way. For example, I started my career as a medical doctor, and then I became a psychoanalyst. And then I moved into intergenerational trauma work and childhood trauma. And now I am a money and business coach. And initially it felt as if, it on the surface, of course, it feels as if these are not related topics. These do not make sense. They don't have they don't have connections. That's how it feels. But deep down, I couldn't have been a money coach. I couldn't have been a business coach had I not done those things earlier, right? Because being a money coach or being a business coach has got to do with working with people's emotions. Money is an emotional entity. It's not a transactional entity. It's an emotional entity. And therefore, money is energy. For me to be able to not only understand that, but also practice that with people, I have to be aware of trauma work. I have to know where people's thoughts and feelings and emotions come from, right? That there are parts in childhood from where these can show up, that there are parts from the ancestral and the intergenerational lineage from where these thoughts and feelings and mindsets can show up, that mindsets do not happen in isolation, right? And that all of these experiences are stored inside our body, inside our nervous system. That's how my training as a medical doctor comes handy today, because I am aware of the neuroscience behind it. And I'm able to practice that because I studied it. So everything came together to culminate as this unique offer that I have, that I coach people to experience abundance. I coach people to make money. I coach people to enhance their business and take it to the next level. And I do this with coaches, healers, and therapists because I know that all of these people are immensely skilled. But somehow, the skill to make money is not connected. I mean, they don't connect the dots to the nervous system. Most of us do not connect the dots to our childhood trauma. Most of us, don't connect the dots to, the traumas that we carry from our lineage, right? Because I myself am a coach. I know that the kind of challenges that people face. And because the whole industry of coaching and healing is an unregulated industry, people are always struggling to find out the right way. And I tell people that there is no right way, nor is there any wrong way. There are just ways by which you can reach your greatest self. There are just ways by which you can reach the divine abundance. And it is you who has to find out that way by believing in the journey that you are taking to reach there, right? So I also want to tell, the coaches, the healers, and therapists who are listening to this podcast right now that it also applies to different processes, different modalities, that one modality or one process is not superior to the other. And in order for you to make money, you don't have to learn XYZ method. And you don't have to be a regression therapist. You don't have to be an intergenerational expert. You don't have to, learn inner child work or hypnosis or be a master NLP certificate coach. You already have the way within you. And you will not realize the physical structure of that way until you believe in the result that you want to reach, until you believe in the goal that you want to reach. For example, how you experience God, how you experience the mystical, how you experience the divine. You don't obsess over the way, right? Well, some of us do. We have very disciplined rituals. We may have very solid, structured ways of um, praying to God, of experiencing the divine. And hence, in the world, there are right ways of experiencing God, and then there are unapproved ways of experiencing God. For example, um, can I experience God while I am walking? Can I experience God while I'm washing my utensils? Can I experience God gardening? Can I experience God looking at the sun? Can I experience God while making love? Can I experience God while talking to my child? These may not be the approved ways of experiencing God, but is it possible? Can I question that? And if I can feel God within me in that moment, am I going to go and ask myself that, was this the right way? Was this the approved way? Was this the validated way? If it moves me from within, if it brings an awareness inside me, if I have a deep moment of catharsis, realization, and integration, am I going to ask if that was the wrong way or the right way? And I have the same analogy to your business as well, that when you show up in the world, how do you feel in your own way when you show up in the world? Showing up, if that makes you feel joyful, if that makes you feel excited, if that makes you feel elated, if that makes you feel happy, will you go back and question if that was the right way or the wrong way? All ways are right ways, as long as you are able to experience your deepest and highest self. That's what is the experience of God is. That's what is the experience of the mystical is. The ecstasy you feel, the feeling that I had when I was in that crowd, when everyone was dancing and cheering and banging their head. Each person was entering into this collective trance. I was listening to those couplets of Kabir. These people were singing. Those words were entering my body, moving parts of my body and entering my cells and dissolving my bones. And the somatic experience I had of ecstasy in that moment, that was my experience of God. I cannot put that down in a structured, solid format, but I did. And therefore, I don't have a how as to how I experienced God in that moment. This is the reason why I ask my students inside ATEPS to always be willing to give up the how. And the moment we are willing to do that, the moment we are willing to give up one fixed, definite way of reaching our goal, we feel liberated. We feel that we don't need the way. We go into this experience of formlessness. We don't obsess about the way, the process. We don't feel scared without a structure, because it's not the process and it's not the structure that defines your success. It's your belief in your higher self that defines your success. Just like your belief in the mystical, your belief in God, your belief in love, although you may not know how to reach there. Your belief in it is what makes you devoted to the path, right? Your belief in God is what makes you go and pray and seek the divinity, even if that the way is not a defined way, a solid way. And my way is not the right way, or your way is the wrong way. There are multiple number of ways. And then there are ways that we don't know if they exist in this world or not. So when we give up the how, when we give up the way, we are actually surrendering to the divinity, right? We are surrendering to our own higher self, which is our divine identity, right? So it's a spiritual process. Giving up the how is a spiritual process. And my insight into this, or my understanding into this, is what if I could make my journey of making money the most divine journey? What if money could be as divine as this physical body of mine, as this physical world I inhabit, the physical man or the physical woman I love, or the sacred house I live in, or the physical miraculous plants in my garden? All of these are physical things. All of these are tangible things. And they are divine in my heart, right? All of it is divine in my heart. What if money could be divine too? What if my reaching money, my journey to making money, could be a divine experience of seeking that self of mine, which is the mystical, which is of the highest potential, which is the all-knowing. And what if I could, and I would be willing to give up the how in order to reach there? What if I never had to subscribe to one way? What if I never had a way? That there was no laid down, defined, approved, validated path. And my belief in that self was enough to get me there. So guys, I'm going to leave you here with this thought today. And I'll see you next week. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast and are willing to change your business and money reality, head to my free coaching community on Facebook called You Are Money. Link is in the show notes. And do not forget to leave a review on Spotify.com or Apple Podcast. Thank you so much.